the Yankee point has been out there all across socials and everything. Everyone's talking about it. Oh, this is very similar to the Yankees in the early 2000s. And I disagree.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsulias. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian.
Stacey, big day for Ohio State. I got the hoodie on. I got a red coffee mug. It's all Ohio.
Oh, right. Football. I forgot about that. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live. On today's show, there's some new items at Yankee Stadium. Hopefully I'll get to a game and try them. We'll tell you about that in segment 3. Anthony Santander goes to another AL East rival. We'll discuss that. But first, are the Dodgers bad for baseball?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. It's a very interesting question that's going on currently, and I'm not sure what the answer is, but I think by the end of this segment, we'll have an answer for each other. Andrew Friedman, the current president of baseball ops for the Dodgers, who is making all these signings and doing all this, I guess we'll call it work for now. Here's the quote, not from recently, but he's given this quote multiple times over the last few off seasons, and it seems like it's more relevant now than it ever has been. If you're always rational about every free agent, you will always finish third on every free agent. And I kind of agree with him on that, because we always hear complaints, particularly from, people in our chats and people on the YouTube comments and stuff. And while we hear you guys, we also always give you the opinion of, listen, you're not going to sign players if you're not willing to go over the extra mile. The Mets were willing to do it with Juan Soto. That's why they got him. The Yankees did it with Max Fried. That's why they got him. You're not going to sign guys. Every contract feels ridiculous. Every contract feels like an overpay. And the teams that do that are the teams that get the players. That's just how it works nowadays. And I know you're more aware of that than anyone else. That's how baseball works nowadays, and sports. He's right on that comment. I agree with him. And I think if you're a Dodger fan, having your president of baseball ops have an opinion like that has got to be ultra refreshing and really good as a fan, because there are certainly, what do you want to say, Stacey? 28 other GMs in baseball that don't share that same sentiment. Yeah. So that's a great feeling for your GM to have. On the flip side, it is starting to feel like Japan is a farm system for the Dodgers. Right. It is starting to feel like every free agent they have the advantage on. And I honestly question why. Now, I know they're a great franchise. I know they're a model franchise. Obviously, Southern California is a wonderful place to live. But the whole tax rate thing that seems to work in other sports of why free agents want to sign in Florida and Tennessee and Texas doesn't seem to work in baseball. They go to the state with the highest tax rate in the country, in California. The notion that they want to play for the Dodgers specifically because of that city, well, I don't see the Angels getting anyone. I question constantly, Stacey. I don't get it, because they sign any player they want, they get. I mean, can you remember the last player they were truly in on that didn't sign with them? Like, true, and I'm not saying, there were rumors with the Aaron Judge stuff, but it never felt like they were truly in on him. Those Juan Soto rumors came out, and we debunked them as quickly as anybody else. They were never in on Juan Soto. When's the last player that they really, really wanted that they didn't get? The only one that comes to mind for me is Gerrit Cole. And that was more of a Gerrit Cole grew up a Yankee fan and wanted to be a Yankee. Right. But other than that, Stacey, it feels like they have a significant advantage on every free agent. And I'm begging you for an answer. What is the reason? Well, what is the reason they are such a significant favorite to land any free agent they ever want? And they always get the guy. Why?
Because they're the shiny beacon of hope. No, they're like the shiny toy that everyone wants in a way, like they're, some people were comparing them to the Yankees from like 25 years ago, but even the Yankees didn't do this much. Like, this offseason that they've had is insane. Like, even the 2008 into 09 offseason wasn't this crazy for the Yankees. They
You keep hearing that. You keep hearing that.
Yeah, they got CeCe, AJ, Teixeira, traded for Swisher.
Really good.
I mean, that was a great offseason. It helped them win a World Series. This team won a World Series, and they're acting like they didn't win a World Series, and they're trying to build an even better team. Like, how much is enough for the Dodgers? And
yeah, in fact, the Yankees let one of their best players walk after that offseason with Cano.
Right. No.
It was 2 years later, but they had no problem letting him walk multiple years later. And the Dodgers don't do that with any of their players. The last one that I can remember them letting walk was Seager. And it seems like it works every time they let the player walk too. He's never the same player when he leaves the Dodgers. And the Yankees made the right call on Cano. But Stacey, it just, and I agree with you because the Yankee point has been out there all across socials and everything. Everyone's talking about it. Oh, this is very similar to the Yankees in the early 2000s. And I disagree. I know the Yankees were outbidding people. They were never like this. The Dodgers got every major free agent, every major one. They didn't get Juan Soto, and again, we called it from the notch.
Yeah, Juan Soto
they were never in on
the Dodgers. No.
And I don't think they were ever really in on him. Again, the tampering rules in baseball give an advantage to the agents. Of course, Scott Boras is not going to rule the Dodgers out because they're one of the big spenders. But this is different too, Stacey, because back then in the early 2000s, the Yankees simply had more money than everybody else, and they were just outbidding everybody, and that's fine. The Dodgers aren't necessarily doing that. They don't have more money than everybody else. Now, they're willing to spend it, that's for sure. They're in the top end of the negotiation when it comes to any free agent. That's not a disagreement, but Stacey, they don't have more money than everybody else. They're not outbidding people like by crazy amounts. They're not. They're just other players are just choosing to sign with them over other places. And, I get it. It's a legendary franchise. Winning there has got to be great. I'm not, it's got to be better to play in Los Angeles than Colorado. And no, I'm not putting Colorado down. I love that place. But like, it's got to be better to play in Southern California than there. I'm not disagreeing with that notion, but I don't know what it is, and I don't know what it is for the Japanese players. They have the three. I mean, you could debate on it, sure. But definitely the two best Japanese players in baseball. I'm not going to put Sasaki there because we haven't seen him pitch yet in the major leagues. But Yamamoto, I think, proved himself last year that he's one of the elite pitchers in baseball and going to be one coming forward. Ohtani's obviously the top 2 player in the game right now. So they have 2 of the best Japanese players in all of the sport. And every Japanese player that comes out, it seems to be a Sasaki. I know the Padres came in late and stuff, but did anyone really consider them a true contender? I know the Yankees and Mets were told they were out of it pretty, and no one was really surprised. We were saying on the show that Sasaki was going to the Dodgers from the moment that he became available. So, but that's a crazy notion that we know he's going to sign there before anything. I just, and I'm trying the whole day to concoct a thought of what makes them so much more attractive than every other team. I don't get it. This is as stacked of an offseason, specifically coming off of a championship. Now, I guess you can consider the Warriors when they lost in the finals and then they got Kevin Durant. That's one of the crazier ones ever. But the additions that they've made to get Tanner Scott, the best reliever on the market, right? To add pitching on a level that Blake Snell, who was the best starter available on the market, and to just add at that, they have 6 number 1 starters in their rotation. 6 number 1. We've talked about it for years. The Yankees can have 2 number 1s and maybe a good number 2 and a 3 and a 4, and we're like, wow, that's a good lineup for 5 guys, right? Stacey, they have 6 number 1s. They have 6 guys that would easily start game 1 for 28 other teams in a playoff series. And I'm trying to think of it, but like you said, this isn't what the Yankees in the early 2000s. They're not as loaded, because if you want to compare it similar, then Barry Bonds would be on the Yankees. It's not the same thing. It's close, but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, the 08-09 season was coming off the Yankees missing the playoffs for the first time in a long time, and I think they knew George was on his last legs. They wanted to get one last championship in there before George passed away. So the kids decided, yes, all right, let's get all these guys and do that. But to see a team who just won the World Series do this, and what's funny to me is, you have some people complaining about it, but then you have other people who are just like, oh, well, this is what the Dodgers do. Meanwhile, 25 years ago, when the Yankees were doing this, all they did was bitch and moan. Oh, the Yankees have all the money. the Yankees are getting everyone. The Yankees are trying to buy championships. It's like, well, yeah, because they're a sports team. You're trying to win championships. And if you can't do it with homegrown people, you go out and get free agents. And the Dodgers have the best of both worlds because they can get free agents, they can trade people, and they have people coming up that do okay. And if they don't, like Gavin Lux, they ship him off to somewhere else and get someone in his place.
Yeah, I don't begrudge the Dodgers for the way that they run their operation. And I think that's,
every team should run the way the Dodgers are being run.
Perfectly said. That's what should bother people more. The people that are out there that are hating on the Dodgers, I'm not giving them any hate. I would love to root for a team that has the perfect model farm system where players are just consistently grown and they're going to replace Gavin Lux easily with some prospect that neither of us have ever heard of yet that we'll hear of in a couple of months, and he'll be called up by 2026 and he'll be a superstar. I wish the Yankees ran their organization exactly like this, and they're pretty damn close. But again, what is it? 29 other teams that wish their team ran like this, where they're involved in every big free agent. They're not afraid to spend. Their farm system is elite. They're always willing to make trades. I wish my team acted like this, and I don't think that the hate deserves to be directed at the Dodgers. The hate should be directed at your own teams who refuse to operate in this way. Because I'd love the Yankees to operate this way. I think all of you would love the Yankees to operate this way, and the Dodgers do it at the perfect level. So I'm not complaining about the Dodgers. I don't think the Dodgers are bad for baseball. I think what make them bad for baseball is, and this is going to be a little of a circle, but hear me out. What make the Dodgers bad for baseball is they highlight the rest of the league not doing this. They highlight the rest of the league not willing to be in on free agents, not willing to pay guys, not willing to trade for guys, not willing to make any moves. That's what they're doing. I don't begrudge the Dodgers at all for doing all of this. Take advantage of it and buy all the championships you can. I begrudge the rest of Major League Baseball, and I think this is putting a light on Major League Baseball on teams that just don't feel like doing this kind of stuff. You're telling me the St. Louis Cardinals, the Miami Marlins, the Tampa Bay Rays, the name other team here couldn't have been involved in Tanner Scott, couldn't have given that contract out, couldn't have been in that deal? Why? Why was and that's on a far lesser scale. Why was no one else in on Juan Soto? He's one of the greatest players of a generation. Why was no one in on him? That's the problem that Major League Baseball has. So I don't think this is bad I think it's bad for baseball in the sense that the Dodgers are highlighting all the teams' willingness to not do anything. Not that it's bad for baseball that the Dodgers are doing that. The Dodgers is not a problem. The problem is the rest of baseball not willing to do any of this.
It's just the way it goes. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button on our videos. Hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. We have a new insider. I noticed the number went up, so we have to figure out who it is and get them to ask a question on Fan Mail Friday. The link is in the description. You'll get text from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades, signings. We send out lineups during the season, roster moves, any kind of breaking news that happens, so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. Coming up, Anthony Santander goes to another AL East rival.
From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid out instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you all covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen, and remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions underneath our videos during the week, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. Those fans get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. The link is in our description. So, Stacey, it must be Boxing Day because, hallelujah, someone took the Blue Jays' money. I don't know how, but there were no offers apparently out there from any substantial other teams to Anthony Santander, and he winds up signing with the Blue Jays a 5-year deal for $90 million. I don't view it as a big problem for the Yankees, honestly, but I think this is very telling for where the market is for the remaining free agents that are out there.
Yeah. I didn't know what was happening. I saw on Blue Sky that people were mentioning, oh, the Blue Jays finally got someone. And I wasn't thinking Santander. I don't know why. I just was like, oh, who did they get? And I had to look it up, and I saw it. I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. Okay. So it's just amazing to me that there was no one else. Like, you didn't hear anything. He wasn't linked to anyone. Just like you don't really hear anyone being linked to Pete Alonso other than the Mets. It's just like, what's happening with some of these guys? Did they overestimate and not realize that they weren't going to get as much money as they thought they were going to get?
Well, I think it's crazy because the numbers that were out there prior, Stacey, were in the $150 million range originally, and then the offseason started for Santander. And
wow,
$90 million is nowhere near that.
Yeah.
It's crazy because the only players the Blue Jays were able to get this offseason, and credit to them, they were in on everybody, but the only ones they were able to get were Hoffman from the Phillies and Santander, which isn't a terrible offseason if you don't consider the guys they were all in and they missed out on.
Right.
It feels like the Blue Jays were the team that someone was willing to take their money finally, and that's what Santander was for them. It doesn't feel like they were super in on him. I do wonder, and I do want your opinion on this. Is this telling of what the market is for Pete Alonso? Because you weren't hearing a lot of news about Santander. It comes out later today. It's 5 years, $90 million, way underneath what anybody thought he was going to sign for. Also, side note, horrible job by the Orioles. If that's what it took to keep him, then horrible job to not keep him in your lineup. That's another thought. But Stacey, is this bad for the Pete Alonso market, or is this just more telling that the numbers that are coming out there are true? The Mets had offered him 3 years and $90 million, and he wants to work off the Prince Fielder contract. And to be honest with you, he's just not going to get that. And I think the Mets just know that deal isn't out there for him. They know they're bidding against themselves. So why bid against yourself? That's what it feels like. Is that what you feel too?
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I wasn't sure how the Pete Alonso market was going to work. I wasn't sure how many teams would be in on him, if there were going to be a number of teams in on him, but you're barely hearing a word from anyone other than the Mets. And I just find that so strange. And, it's January 20th as we record this, and spring training will be happening in less than a month. Guys are already down in Florida working out, getting ready for the season. And Pete Alonso still doesn't know, am I going to be a Met? Where am I playing? I think he's probably, if this isn't any indication, if the Santander, I can't say his name, Santander deal, say that 5 times fast, everyone, is any indication, and how late it happened, and how, again, you didn't hear him be linked to anyone, Alonso might just have to suck it up and take what the Mets offer him, because no one else is in on him.
In 2012, the deal Prince Fielder signed with the Tigers was 9 years, $214 million. Now, it feels like Alonso, they want to go over that $200 million threshold, and they want to get, definitely over the 3 years that they're being offered. But Stacey, for them to make it public that that's the deal they want to work off of, and it feels like the Mets are the ones that made that public, to be like, look at what this guy's asking for.
Right.
To make everyone, laugh a little bit. Apparently, the deal the Mets offered was 3 years, $90 million. And if that's where the market's at, I don't think that's crazy. I actually don't. And, call me crazy for thinking that, but it feels like when Alonso came up in 2017, the same year that Aaron Judge was a rookie, everybody compared the two. They were both New York superstars. They were both hitting 50 home runs. They were both on track to be stars for both of their teams, respectively. And Aaron Judge took off to a different level that, quite frankly, I don't even think a lot of Yankee fans expected out of him, right? Aaron Judge completely cut down on the strikeouts. Aaron Judge became a very good average hitter, which not a lot of power hitters are. Aaron Judge is one of the elite fielders in the game, besides what Game 5 of the World Series would tell you, but he's one of the elite fielders in the game. Alonso is a below average first baseman. Alonso does not hit for average at all. Now, he finished the year hitting like 242, but his average, that's because he had a hot September. His average throughout the entire season was floating around 212. That's not what, and for $30 million a year, by the way, that average is fantastic from Alonso's perspective to get that money for that average. But right. Aaron Judge's on base percentage is over 410 every single year. Pete Alonso's is in the 380s. Doesn't walk a lot, strikes out a lot. He doesn't field well. He's good for 35 and 80 every single year, which is really good. And I'm not saying that there's not a spot for Pete Alonso. I think he fits the Mets really well, especially with Juan Soto in the lineup. I think he's a great player to fit in there. Yeah. But for the price, I got to be honest with you. If I'm a Mets fan, I'd feel great about the way that they're handling this. They're not, even though their owner is richer than everybody else and can give out more money than anybody else, he's not going to. He's not going to overspend. And again, we go back to the Dodgers thing. Is it all this bad for baseball? Whatever your argument is, Stacey, the Mets are playing this perfectly. They know, A, there's not a lot of other bidders out there, if there are any. And B, we know what player you are. We're not going to overspend to keep our own talent. And that's how every team should operate. I just can't believe the market's where it's at. But to me, the Santander news, getting 5 years for $90 million and signing with Toronto when it seems like no player in baseball wants to sign with them, Stacey, it tells me the market for him was awful, and the market for Pete Alonso is probably just as awful.
So, month from now, Pete Alonso returns to the Mets with his tail between his legs?
I'd think so. I don't think maybe he's getting more years. I know John Heyman told us that he knew for a fact there was a 5-year deal out there from somebody. Now, I don't know if that's been rescinded or not. Who knows? I don't think anyone's given him close to more than $30 million a year. Yeah. I'll tell you that. So it feels like he signs for that. Or who knows, Stacey? Maybe he signs a 1-year deal for that price and he tests it out again and sees what he can do in the 1 year hitting behind Juan Soto. Maybe he has an Aaron Judge type year hitting with Juan Soto in the lineup and, parlays that into a big payday. But to me, that Prince Fielder news was 100% leaked by the Mets. That's the contract they want to work off of, and they want the public to go against being like, this is what this guy's asking for. That's all that makes sense to me.
Yeah. All right, coming up next, new food options at Yankee Stadium for 2025.
Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about that you were paying twice for? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for all of my finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and it helps lower your bills so you can grow up your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I wasn't using anymore, and I've already saved a ton. Plus, with their goals feature, I've been able to automatically set aside money for my future. There's no more stressing about budgeting every single month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Stacey, on this January the 20th in 2025, we got great news. The New York Yankees are adding food options to the stadium, highlighted by fried chicken sandwiches and barbecue filet tip loaded tater tots, which is a mouthful, but I want to have a mouthful of that come July, June, August, whatever it is that I'm in a game. Those are the two highlights that I saw on the list. There were a few other things that did not seem very interesting to me, so I didn't add it in the rundown. But I love these two options. Now, I will say, I hope they improved the options for the lines that you can get these things at, because this is a consistent problem every year. Whenever they introduce new food at Yankee Stadium, the lines are to the fourth inning, especially with the pitch clock now. I don't know. So what's your strategy when going to games? Do you tend to try and get there early and get the foods before everybody else does? Are you wanting up there later and you're online to the fourth thing? Because I can't stand missing games.
No, I go to wherever there isn't a line. I'm not waiting. Mm-hmm. Although I used to in 2009, I had a routine in 2009, and it helped them win games because I think I only saw them lose 3 games that season. I went to like 30 games.
Oh, wow.
I went to Johnny Rockets to get a vanilla shake every fourth inning.
I don't think that's open anymore, is it?
No, I don't think it is either, which is so depressing. Now they have those shakes in the crazy glasses.
Oh, yeah, but they're like $35. They're
like $30 shakes, and you have all this crazy stuff. Like, you see people walking around with them, and there's like cake sticking out of it. It's like,
yeah, it's like 3,000 calories.
What?
I know the Aaron Judge burger that came out like 2 years ago.
Oh,
people said it was great, and I'm sure it was. But the lines, when you would walk into the stadium a half hour early, the line was down the first baseline.
Because they only have 99 of them. You have to get there before they run out of burgers.
Ridiculous. I know for a while they had the goat burger. That was terrific. I know I got that a few times, but I'm not in the business anymore of waiting online for food at the stadium. I can't do it. Like, especially my seats are in the bleachers. I gotta be honest with you. I'm a back of the bleachers, chicken bucket kind of person. That's what I do at every game. $20. It's the best deal in sports. That's what I go for. It just feels a lot easier going that way. The food options are great and they're fun to talk about, but when it comes to actually getting them at the stadium, it's never worth it.
I will say, was it 10 years ago? Yeah, 10 years ago. Wow, 2015. Went to Old Timers Day, and then the Yankees beat up on the Tigers in the game after that.
Okay.
They scored like 18 or 20, something crazy. And I had gotten steak-covered fries from Lobel's. Looked like Alpo. Like, it looked like dog food, but it was amazing. And I went back to the stand because I could only eat half of it. And I was like, can you give me another tray so I can place it on top of this and bring it home? The lady's like, yeah, hold on. I'll get you a whole other container. And she helped me so I could bring it home. And I had it the next day. But that was my favorite. I used to do the Lobel's steak sandwich without the bun. I would just get meat. And they'd be like, like people would look like, what is she doing? I just wanted slices of meat. And I would just eat the slices of meat at the seat. I didn't.
That line's absurd too. That line is absurd too every time.
That I would go before the game started. Lobel's,
when the stadium first opened, the garlic fries were incredible. They had the garlic; those were incredible. Generally, my move: chicken bucket, and you get the cheese in the chicken bucket. You could ask for that. Game changer.
I don't like that cheese. I'm not a yellow cheese. I'm not a yellow gooey cheese person. It grosses me out. Even the sight of it. My brother will get the stuff with, and I'm like, what have I gotten the last few times? Oh, I got the year that Judge was going for the home run record. We saw him play against Baltimore. Didn't get anything done. He hit the home run like 2 days later in Texas because it was like the last series at home. And I got, what's it called? Halal.
Halal guys
or halal guys. So I got chicken. It was like $15.99, but it was like loaded with rice and lettuce. And it took me like 3 innings to eat that thing. I was like, this is worth it. This is totally worth the price. Because if you
that's the same company that's on I think it's Fifth Avenue in Manhattan.
Yes. Yeah. It's good stuff. And they had a cart that first year, because I think it was the first year that the stadium had it, or maybe the second year, but they had a cart in the Great Hall, and the line was like 6 people deep when I went down there. I was like, all right, I'll do this, because I was looking around for stuff and all the lines were long, and when I saw no one was there, I did that. And then the last time I went to a game this past season, when they got shellacked by the Cardinals, I saw that there was a Halal Brothers stand in the upper deck, and I was able to, I think the line was like maybe 5 people deep, and it went fast. So I was like, all right, I'll do this again. And I got the same thing: chicken, rice, lettuce, the sauce, the pita bread. Oh, so good.
You better evolve from work the next day after getting that. I'll say that. But the halal food itself is tremendous.
See, it doesn't affect me like that. I don't know why. Because, like other people are like, oh, I'm like, no, I'm fine.
I feel like the old man complaining whenever I talk about halal food, because I went to college in John Jay on 59th Street in Manhattan. And there was a stand over there when they started expanding the halal guys around. And I worked at Sirius XM, which was on Fifth Avenue, like right across the street from where you worked. And that's where the original stand is. And that line went, 2 blocks deep, and especially now. But I remember when I was young and had no money to my name and I was going to college, my mom would give me $6 for lunch. And she would give $5 would cover the halal food platter, and this $1 would cover, a can of soda or something.
Yeah.
And that's what she would give me. And I would go to school, 3-4 days a week and everything. And now that exact same stand in Manhattan, it's like $11 for the same platter. It's gone up. I feel like the old man complaining, but it's actually the truth. It's gone up so much. And I don't know what it costs in Yankee Stadium, the halal food, but I'm sure it's something north of $15.
It was $15.99 if I recall correctly. $15.99.
That's not even that crazy for stadium food. For the amount of food they give you, that's actually not
because
even that crazy.
They give you so much. You're sitting there. It takes you a good 2-3 innings to eat the whole thing. So I think it's totally worth it for that much money. If you're getting that much food and you can eat that and be full for the rest of the day, you might as well do it.
The problem is with the pitch clock, you now have to get there early to eat, because if you're getting there on first pitch, I don't even eat at that point. I'll maybe get a chicken bucket if the line is short, like in the 5th inning, and I'll split it with whoever I'm there with. But I got time to stop for a drink, and that's about it, because the innings move so quick, especially at the start of the game. The innings move so quick that you can't possibly get in on time and get food in time.
I will say this. The worst day was when you first went to Yankee Stadium and they started putting the calories up on everything that you were ordering, and you saw how much everything was.
100%.
And I was like the chicken fingers and fries, it was like a full day of food. So I would keep that in my brain and be like, all right, no breakfast. If I'm going to a day game, eat the chicken fingers and fries, and I'll just have a really light like salad for dinner. And then I get all my calories in, because it was way too much. It's like 1,200 calories.
All of it. You can't. They kill you with that, especially at the stadiums and stuff. Especially if you're going to be drinking before the game and then you're hungry when you get inside. They have it. They have the food market in these stadiums cornered so perfectly. I'm actually excited for when they start doing the media days, because now all these things will start to, this is the time of year when it starts to leak of all the new additions at different stadiums. So I guess we can discuss on the show. Maybe we'll start reserving the 3rd segment for that. We'll start discussing food options that have been added to different stadiums around the league, because some of them, the calorie markers are more insane than the actual food item that they're adding.
Yeah. But I do like to eat at the games. I don't mind doing it. If it's really hot though, then no, I sometimes will just, I'll drink water and then maybe get something cold to eat, like ice cream. Cause I'm like, it's summer. I don't care. It's too hot, because sometimes you can't sit there and sweat and eat a heavy thing.
But there is almost nothing like getting to a playoff game and there's the cold. You could see the air coming out of your mouth, and then you bite into a warm chicken tender out of the chicken bucket. That's when you know there's playoff baseball in the air.
I mean, you could say the same thing for like a random cold day in May when it's cold at night.
I mean, how about opening day? It's like March 27th this year.
Yeah,
it's going to be like 30 degrees outside.
So thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.